Restart the recording. I think we'll
All
come
right,
in.
you good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I just don't want to have this face,
Welcome back. Heart of the Order, episode 25. We're recording this on Wednesday, August 26th. Just to give you guys a little background of kind of the time frame we're talking about everything tonight. Because some stuff has happened today, some stuff has happened a couple weeks ago. But the HOTO boys are back, guys. How you doing tonight on this glorious Wednesday evening?
I mean, I'm doing well. There's been a lot that's really happened, from today, even back to that last week. Like, I know we're gonna have a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're gonna have a very, I don't want to say, I guess productive. It's gonna be a good show. It's just gonna be a good show. That's, I just got a lot on my mind. I'm thinking about a lot. So, the wheels are turning. I got my Miller High Life. Shout out Miller High Life, not an official sponsor of Dre's Bed. But yeah, I'm just ready to get going. Brooksy, how you doing?
Doing good. Much of the same. I know, like, all the things we talked about pre-show, we're definitely not going to run out of things to talk about. Other than that, we're 5.5 months through quarantine, or not through, just in COVID. And I think, like, I've been having each of these moments when I'm like, holy cow, like, that happened 5 months ago and we were still in quarantine.
Like, 2020 is like 3/4 of the way over almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of my friends, so like I'm working from home, and he was a teacher, so he was pretty much off since March. And like we would have lunch Warzone breaks.
Yeah.
And he said, he's like, oh yeah, this is like my last day doing this because I have to go back to work tomorrow. And I was like, oh, like my heart like broke inside. I was like, we like
the
did
devastation
it every day for like 5 straight months, and now it's done.
No, I feel that. I had a long lunch one day. It was about an hour and 15 minutes because my computer was updating, and it was the first time I was able to actually hop on Warzone during lunch, because I usually take short lunches. I take half-hour lunches. Not really a lot of time to do anything, I can't even get a game in, an hour I feel like I'm just not being productive, because so my computer's down. I don't know how long it's going to take to update. I'm just taking as long of a lunch as I can. Won a game. That was pretty. Came in second, actually. I'm sorry. Should have won that game, but basically I know the pain because I got friends that do that. They play all the time. It's like I don't get how you guys can just not work and play Warzone, but like you taking the lunch breaks. I 100% get that. It's Warzone. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's crazy to think, like, just speaking of Warzone, it's crazy to think that, like, the perfect timing that they had, because they released it at, like, the very beginning of quarantine, or of coronavirus, like, that first week in March. And it's crazy to see, like, how big it's grown over the last couple of months. It's wild. I just bought 2K, PGA 2K21. Just playing a couple rounds of that during work today.
I have it too. I have it too. Our fearless leader Deke calls himself the putt god, so he has the putts to back it up. So I just today on my career played my first round without the putt assist.
Mm-hmm.
Shot -3, so I was pretty happy about that. But
I haven't played around.
That's not going to get the job done.
Yeah. All right, so we can get into some baseball stuff. So I guess we'll start off with the stuff that happened tonight. Obviously, there's some protests around the country with everything that happened with Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. The Bucks boycotted their game in the NBA playoffs tonight in the bubble, and now teams have started boycotting. MLB teams have started boycotting their games tonight. A lot of teams have come out, kind of released statements and things like that. I mean, guys, what's this whole situation? I mean, how, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say cool, but how significant is it to see kind of all these teams kind of unifying together between over sports, from MLB to the WNBA to the NBA, just kind of all these teams kind of unifying in one voice, I guess you could say.
I want to say it's incredible, but I still don't feel like it's the right words.
Hmm.
I guess the thing is I'm having trouble trying to find words to describe what's happening. Because on one hand, I think it's great to see the players, and not just in the NBA where this originated with the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 5,
Yeah.
versus the Magic, as you alluded to. And then you see the Milwaukee Brewers follow suit. The two franchises based near Kenosha, Wisconsin, where that shooting happened. You see teams like the Seattle Mariners unifying, and the NBA just canceled all of their games tonight. On one hand, I think it's great to see the players just being so outspoken, and them taking a stand saying, things aren't normal, so we're not going to act like it's normal, because you're dealing with abnormal right now, and it's getting a whole lot worse. With coronavirus isn't getting any better, but more importantly, the situation with Jacob Blake is just absolutely terrible, because we are maybe a month and a half, 2 months removed from George Floyd and those protests.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm upset. I'm upset because I guess the reasoning behind this, like, why are innocent Black men still dying? And to me, it just makes no sense whatsoever, because there's situations like this where there's legitimate there's citizens of this country, born and raised here, are automatically just crucified and plotted against and deemed a danger to society based off the color of their skin. And it's getting to the point where it's fatal. And the NBA players, put social injustices on the back of their jerseys, like say her name for Breonna Taylor, who the cops still haven't arrested, by the way. So you see that, and you see players in Major League Baseball and just all sports take a knee during the national anthem. And it's like it's not accomplishing anything because of the Jacob Blake situation. So I like the boycott. It says, like, we're not going to act like everything's normal, because it's not.
Yeah.
So the boycott, I think it's drastic enough where it's like, why haven't you heard us before? Now you're forcing our hand. You're using our power as an athlete to demand change, and I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think, like, coming from where we were, I mean, even a year ago, just where it was like stick to sports and like keeping the two sports and politics, or even just like bigger issues like the systemic racism. But the fact that for so long it's just like, oh no, like these things are separate, even though like there are so many more important things than sports in the game. And like, I think I didn't fully realize like the full significance, because when I first saw the tweet, I was like, oh, like, okay, like it just like didn't fully come in until I like saw the full extent of it across leagues. And I thought, for two things, like, that's like for people in the Milwaukee, like outside of the Kenosha area, to like step up and do that, and to have that like unity on both of those teams was really cool. And I think also the Lions didn't practice today, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So like it's across like all sports. So like in a time where we used to be in a position where the stigma was, hey, like keep these things separate. You guys are athletes, like use your platform solely for that. It's cool that they're able to like push through that and take a stand for something that like needs to be done. Something needs to be done about it. Like, this is just getting more and more heartbreaking by the day. So I don't know what, like, this is Wednesday, and I don't know like if there will be sports in the next few days or like what will happen, but like I just hope the outcome of this is conversations that need to happen and legislation that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's being received in the way that I think it should, as being this high impact, significant moment where everybody in the society needs to acknowledge where we're at and where we need to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know how long the boycotting and like the no games being played are going to last. But I think it's done what it's supposed to do. It's brought attention to a topic that's been nationwide for the past, I don't know, 3 months, 2 months, since we've been in the pandemic and things like that. And it's definitely a subject that still needs to be talked about. I know that over the past day or two, or probably over the past day, there have been discussions between, I think it was the Raptors and the Celtics, about canceling or boycotting their game tonight. And then I'm sitting here doing some work this afternoon, and my roommate comes in and he was like, "Did you see the Bucks haven't taken the floor yet?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen." And then it kind of cascades and avalanches kind of over the cross of the rest of the sports. No more game fives. Pretty much all the NBA games tonight were postponed, and things like that. But I think it's doing what it's meant to do, and that's bringing attention to something that needs to be talked about on a wider scale, a bigger scale. So I'm hoping that, like you said, Brooksy, it kind of continues to keep doing that, and have a good cause rather than people looking at it negatively, which I'm sure there's people out there that do, when they shouldn't. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, kind of how that plays out over the next couple weeks, over the next couple days, I guess. But we did have some excitement in the MLB last night. Chicago White Sox pitcher, Dre, I'm gonna fuck this up again.
Giolito.
Chicago White Sox pitcher Lucas Giolito threw a no-hitter. Threw a no-hitter against the Pittsburgh Pirates last night. Unfortunately, our hometown Pittsburgh Pirates. But guys, this is a guy he's been in the conversation as kind of an up-and-coming guy for the last couple of years. I know he had a bad year. Was it last year or the year before?
2 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
He had the worst ERA. He qualified for the worst ERA in baseball 2 years ago.
And then he comes out, he throws a no-hitter last night. Dre, is this surprising at all to you that this guy was able to – it might not be surprising that it was the Pirates, but is it surprising that he was able to go out and throw a no-hitter like that?
I'm actually fully surprised on both spectrums here. I'm surprised that Giolito has come so far as an ace. He's a legitimate ace of the staff. And when they signed Dallas Keuchel, I thought Keuchel was going to be expected to lead the rotation, and Giolito can sort of come into his own. And it was kind of like he didn't need Keuchel. He was ready to take on this challenge. And like I said 2 years ago, he led Major League Baseball. He had the worst, qualified worst ERA, worst earned run average in baseball. And then last year, I think I want to say he's around 4 or 5. I don't know what he's at now, but I know that this year he is. If it wasn't for Shane Bieber, he'd probably be in Cy Young conversation. Well, he's in the conversation, but he'd probably be the front runner, my guess. And the fact of the matter is last night was his coming out party. This is a guy that was at one time widely considered the top prospect in baseball, not just pitching prospect, but prospect. And when the Nats traded him away for Adam Eaton, obviously that helped them out win a World Series, but they did that because they had Strasburg and they had guys like Joe Ross and they had Max Scherzer on a contract. They're like, well, we have an embarrassment of riches. Why don't we just, fill our hole and fill the holes that we need? And what sucks is when the Pirates were looking to sort of break down their team in 2016, Giolito was a guy that was thrown in trade conversations with the Pirates for Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah.
And what had happened was they said no because they wanted Giolito and Robles, but the Nats weren't partnering with Robles because they knew that they were going to lose Bryce Harper. And at that point, they didn't know that Juan Soto was going to be this dog, that he is today. Absolutely one of the best hitters in baseball right now at 21 years old. But the point of the matter is that last night he dealt. He looked like an ace. He was calm, cool, and collected the entire time. He faced one batter over the minimum because he had one walk. It was a 4-pitch walk to lead off the 4th inning. He mixes pitches really well, changes speeds really well. He looks dominant, absolutely dominant. And for the White Sox, it's big news, considering that they were all three of our teams entering the playoffs.
Right.
So, if I have time here and talk about the Pirates not being on that side of the spectrum, because I kind of just went off there about Giolito. Very happy about what he's done, by the way. But the Pirates, I did not expect them to suck this much. I knew they were going to be bad. I can't even call us a tank anymore. They stink.
Yeah,
that was awful. Absolutely awful what they did last night. They didn't.
At any point, were you rooting for the no-hitter?
It is so bad in Pirate Land right now. But it's gonna be. I said this is gonna happen. But even I'm surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so shocked that they're so bad.
So have you turned from thinking that there might be just tanking to thinking that they're just actually that bad?
Part of me was like, it's definitely some sort of a tank, but like they are so bad that they are supposed to be the front runners as being sellers. Like they're definite sellers for the trade deadline, but they're so bad they don't even have a piece to trade. That's how bad this
Fiona
team
Kella
is.
comes out once and then.
Yeah, I don't think he's even a piece anymore.
Do you know how bad you have to be to say, you know what, we're just going to trade away our best players? Like, what are you going to do? Trade away Greg Polanco batting under 100?
Yeah.
What do you
It's
want?
like Adam Frazier. Every asset
batting under
hitting under 200.
I don't get it. Like, part of it, this is supposed to be a planned process. Like, and I know it's going to take some time, but like, they're in a perfect position to sell, and they can't even sell anything. I'll be shocked if Ben Cherington pulls off a trade.
Yeah,
I saw.
But they stink.
Yeah, I think they're going to be moving. I mean, their pitching staff is pretty beaten up, but they're going to move some of the arms there too, and it's only going to get worse. The last 20 games are just going to be abysmal. But 60 games of pain for maybe half a season of joy 4 years down the line. Who knows?
I'm ready.
I think back to Giolito. I saw a tweet last night that he was teammates in high school. So the same pitching staff as Max Fried and Jack Flaherty. Mm-hmm. So imagine that going against that pitching staff in high school. That's absurd.
It's always funny how those things kind of circle back around. Like how you see like the guys who like played together in high school or youth leagues, and now they're in the league together and stuff like that. Like, I mean, the first one that comes to my mind is Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant. They're teammates in Las Vegas, like little kid teammates in Las Vegas. It's always funny to see those things kind of circle back around.
Yeah, the first one for me is Matt Stafford and Clayton Kershaw, and that's only because Booger McFarland would not shut up about it last year on every single game that he had.
Yeah. It's always funny, but as far as this no-hitter, I mean, is there – Brooksy, you kind of touched on it already, but is there a time where – I mean, both of you guys are Pirates fans, but you're also baseball fans. Is there a time where, a team is no-hitting your favorite team? Are you actually going to, like, do you root for the no-hitter, or do you root for it to get broken up? Brooksy, you can answer.
I root for it to get broken up every time. The only time I won't is if somebody is – it could happen this year to the Pirates. If somebody's on it's not actually going to happen, but somebody's on pace to get a perfect game with 27 strikeouts. If that ever happens, I will root for that to happen against the Pirates. But anything else, we've seen perfect games. We've seen no-hitters, and I can just do without the Pirates jokes on Twitter for one night. So I wanted them to break it up, and I thought they were going to on the last Eric Gonzalez hit a ball to right field, and I was like, oh, that's dropping for sure.
I did too, off the bat.
15 feet, and I was like, oh, bummer.
I'm sort of like, I'm like Brooksy in the sense that, like, I definitely don't want to see it happen. Like, when Max Scherzer lost his perfect game to Tappan in 15 because he leaned into the pitch, and everyone's all up in arms about it, I was like, I love this so much because this sticks everybody right. This sticks the unwritten rules people right in the rear end. Like, Those people are like, I can't believe he would do that to ruin a perfect game. It's like, I don't want to be on that side of history.
Yeah.
Who wants to be on that side of history?
Yeah.
Now, what I will say is Bush League. I think a bunt for a base hit is Bush League.
Yeah, that.
But it's
All right,
part
that
of the
was my next
game at the
question.
same time.
That was gonna be-
But I think it's Bush League because it's like, you didn't earn a hit.
Hey,
Like,
it's an unwritten rule.
Yeah, I do. But, like, that's like, I'm not going to beat on the book of unwritten rules. I think they're all stupid. But I think that's dumb. And honestly, if I was a pitcher and that happened, I'm not going to advocate for being in the back. But, like, I'd throw a curveball at someone's ass cheek, let them know I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's right. You just ruined my no-hitter by a bunt for a base hit, and I'll shake my head like I'm gonna throw a runner on first base and you get a second just because, the hell you do it. Earn your hit.
Yeah.
Don't bunt. But, like, again, part of the game.
Well, I
So,
feel different.
I thought that Dyson legitimately was going to do it last night. I was like, This guy's going to bunt for a base hit. Everyone's going to be so mad. I'm ready for it, but, like, it's going to suck at the same time, and it never happened.
Luckily.
I mean, I wouldn't have cared. I don't want to see my team get no hit. But, like, I'd have just been like, like, I would have been hyped, but, like, hiding behind somebody, like.
See, I mean.
Would you feel differently, Dre? So originally I was, like, in the no bunting crowd, but halfway through I talked myself into bunting crowd. Because it sort of is an interesting segue into the whole Fernando Tatis unwritten rules.
Yeah.
If the score was like 1-0, 2-0, like if it wasn't, like, what did the game even end up being? I don't even remember.
4-0.
4-0. But the Pirates, that 4-0 is so much more. If it was a 1-0 game or a 2-0 game and you just need to get on base.
You bunt 100%.
Yeah.
So
at what point is, like, the bunt? Is it when, like, the game is out of reach? 9th inning?
So I will justify my reasoning by saying if you're in a non-save situation, 9th inning, you shouldn't bunt.
Yeah, I'd agree with
But
that.
if it's a save situation and you got a no-hitter going, you bunt and you don't think twice about it if you got a fast runner up who can get on base. And I say that because you should always try to win the game first, no matter what.
I think it's interesting because it's like the same thing where it's this whole, well, how could Fernando Tatis swing on a 3-0 pitch being up 7-0? But then it's like, well, the Rangers could have come back. And then it's on the other hand, it's like, well, how could someone bunt in a 9th inning in a non-save situation? Like, well, they could come back. I think it's like an interesting, because I find myself on, like, the Bush League part in the no-hitter example. But
yeah,
I think all of us share the same thing in the Fernando Tatis example of, like, that's a case where unwritten rules are, like, silly. But I think it's an interesting double standard, or not even double standard is the right word for it, but that just is an interesting thought I had.
I mean, I feel like I guess the percent, like, I mean, in the Tatis example, like, they're up, 7-0 at that point. So the game's probably already out of hand. But, like, in, say, like, a 1-0 example with a no-hitter, the game's on the line, like, you just need to, like, I feel like creating, like, a scoring opportunity with a bunt it makes a lot more sense. Even though there's a no-hitter, like, the game's still, like, within reach. You just need to get a guy on base. Maybe the next guy comes up and hits a home run. Like, that's how baseball works sometimes. So it's a balance, I think. Different situations.
Yeah. I agree. And I'll even take it a step further when I say non-save situation. If you can't tie the game with one swing of the bat, you probably shouldn't bunt to get on base. So basically it's like, I know I said non-save situation which qualifies as 4 runs. I would say 5 runs or more, you can't bunt.
Mm-hmm.
I would think 4 runs would be okay to bunt because at that point you get one on base. It could follow suit with the pitcher falling apart, throwing a walk, or maybe even being the second guy out of spite. And then the third guy gets a hit, and then you're looking at the guy on second getting in. At that point, it is a save situation. And with 2 runners on, no outs, and a home run ties the game, all because of a bunt and frustration. So, like, I would think that 4 runs would actually be it would personally be my line, but anything outside of that, forget that.
I'm so conflicted. I think I'm on no bunt side because we're gonna have this conversation when we talk about Tatis, but like what we say, we respond to the pitcher being like, hey, you don't want him swinging at a 3-0 pitch? Don't throw 3 straight balls, or attack him differently at 3-0. For some reason, or like now where I stand, it's like you don't want him getting a bunt and a no-hitter, field the bunt and throw him out.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So I think now I'm firmly in at any cost within like not reaching Jose Tabata in it, but get on base, break up the no-hitter. I mean, I hold to that.
I'm a no bunt guy.
I'm a no bunt guy too.
No bunt guy, 5 runs or more.
Yeah. I'm
bunt guy, 4 runs or less.
Well,
especially.
Well, you guys probably didn't have to rely on bunts in your baseball careers, like.
I bunted all the time. I was a number 9 hitter. I bunted all the time.
I full swung, but they look like bunts.
I was a good bunter though, so like I was a great bunter. But it's a funny situation. But I guess it's kind of the perfect segue into the whole Fernando Tatis situation. I believe it was last week. Basically, he comes up to plate, bases loaded. They were up 7-0, I think, at that point. Right? It was like 7-0.
And 3.
He's got a 3-0 count. The guy, I can't remember who the pitcher was, throws a fastball right down the middle of the plate.
It was former Bucko.
Yeah. Neftali Philly?
No.
Or no, Norasco? No, what's his name?
Juan Nicasio.
Nicasio, yeah.
And Tatis hits a fucking yaya over the fence.
Daddy's shot too.
Yeah, it was a shot, that's for sure. And so basically it brings up this whole basically avalanches from there. Both coaches come out and say that he probably shouldn't have done it. Eric Hosmer was giving him the speech in the clubhouse or on the bench about how he shouldn't have done it. Trevor Bauer comes out, says, yeah, keep doing your thing, big man. So it basically unraveled into this unwritten rules baseball type thing that we kind of talk about every single year. There's always a situation that pops up. Dre, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
So I wrote about this, and I think it's beyond stupid. I think it's stupid on every single party except for Fernando Tatis. To again pimp shot of a grand slam. If you don't, Chris Woodard, first off, he's the manager for the Texas Rangers. He's the one who hated the most. He's the one who ordered the next pitcher to throw behind Manny Machado to basically let that whole entire bench know that they didn't like it. And then had the gall to yell at Eric Hosmer and say, you're a vet, you need to talk to your boy and show the kid how to respect the game. First off, you respect the game by going hard 24/7.
100%.
That's how you respect the game. Guys like Reggie Jackson, guys like Johnny Bench, they all said that what the hell are you supposed to do at 3-0 if you get a fastball down the middle? The game ain't over.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the unique thing about baseball that no one understands about this whole entire situation. Like, in certain facets of respect the game or don't run up the score, it matters when the game is honestly, like, is mathematically out of reach.
Yeah.
And it's like basically you're up 2 scores, could be up 2 scores in football with like a minute left and 1 possession. Could be up 2 possessions in basketball with less than 10 on the clock. In hockey, it's basically a 2-goal lead after you put an empty netter. Like in baseball, the game is not over until the third out happens in the 9th inning, the 27th out. It's an untimed game. Like, how the hell do you determine when the game's over? So in reality, the game wasn't over in 7 runs.
Yeah.
The game was over in 11 runs. When he said, "Oh, the game was over in 7 runs," like, Chris Woodard, shut up. The game was not over. If you don't like it, then your pitcher needs to throw. He needs to throw better. Like, you need to manage your bullpen better. Maybe throw a guy out there who can get that out if you're still playing to win. Like, I don't get it. And Eric Hosmer's a bad teammate for that. Saying, coddling the soft-ass Texas Rangers and saying, Tatis, what you did was wrong. And Jace Tingler not defending this guy, saying, you know what, we're not trying to run up the score. Well, of course you're not trying to run up the score. But then you don't go on and say that Fernando Tatis was out of line, hit a home run. You want to hit home runs every time you step into the box. You want your star player to be an absolute savage, like Aaron Boone said when he yelled at the damn umpires for not calling balls and strikes the right way. You want savages in the box. That's what you want as a team. And I am honestly shocked that they responded the way that they have, because I would have expected them to go the complete other way.
Yeah.
We're looking at Grand Slams all the time in San Diego. I'm sorry, Grand Slam Diego.
I thought it was funny the next night too how they were up like 4-0 and he sold third.
Oh my God! to go back, when you said up 4-0, they're up 6-0 at that point, which was even better.
Yeah.
And it was only the fourth inning, which is even better.
Yeah.
Because again, 6 runs, fourth inning though. What's the difference? You're up 6, like you were down 7 when this happened. But the innings. First at bat in first inning in that game is the point I'm trying to make. That's when the grand slam happened. Will Myers hit a grand slam the next night.
Yeah.
And then the next night, someone else hit a grand slam. And then the next night, Manny Machado hit a walk-off grand slam. They just keep coming, and it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, to like one extent, it's just one of those things that happens every year in baseball where it's like the people who are, it's the old man yelling at clouds sort of scenario. And it comes up every year, but it's like we all feel the same way about it. And baseball's a game that's built like, hey, when it comes time for Fernando Tatis's arbitration, the team could very well say, no, you didn't hit enough home runs. So like, if you're not, always going for something, like you have to watch out for yourself here and your team, like not just solely your individual stats, but like it's the business where they're going to come forward and be like, oh no, like you didn't do enough here. So like, even just more from like a team perspective, like just, watching out for him and his guys, like I respect that. But the thing that confused me the most was the man, like I can get it if the other manager like has a poopy diaper and is upset about it. But like the Padres manager being that like outspoken, it's one thing to say, hey, I gave him the take sign. I'm upset he didn't I'm upset he didn't take, but it's one of those like, don't shoot. Oh, great shot scenarios. It's like, that's what the coach could say. Like, hey, like you have to follow, like if we give signs, you abide by the signs. And I'm upset by that. I'm not upset by these unwritten rules that you just broke. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, I feel like that's what, if I was a manager, I would have like come out and said like, hey, yeah, we have team rules. These aren't unwritten rules. These are the team rules. And if I say take.
Mm-hmm.
But not to do what he said and sort of go in the route of the unwritten rules and like not back up your own guy. I would be very bitter. But I think like luckily,
fired his ass.
Yeah.
That's how you lose a clubhouse too. You said it perfectly.
Exactly how you lose a clubhouse.
Yeah, that's how you lose a clubhouse. Is you're not backing your guy in a public interview.
If I'm the Rangers, I fire Woodard too for using that as an excuse for getting your ass beat. You gotta pound on an invisible role, a role that anyone could just make up. You know why the rules are unwritten? Jeff Passan said this, and I love this. Absolutely love this. He said unwritten rules are dumb, and you realize how dumb they are because if they were written down, you would feel stupid just looking at it. They're the dumbest thing in the world. It's not up to you to police the game of baseball. It's not up to anybody to police the game of baseball. Like throwing behind Machado, like if you're not happy about it, I get it. It's more than anything, I'm glad he didn't get hit. I still think it's baby back bullshit anyways. Like take your ass whooping like a man. Like it's part of professional sports. You're not supposed to be a soft ass in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Like you play to win the game all the time. That's what you do. You do in every, not just baseball, you do in every single professional sport until the clock strikes 0. clock does not strike 0 until the 27th out happens.
Or if you're bunting in a non-save situation during a no-hitter.
Correct.
I think I'm in that similar position too. Like I'm trying to find like what is that line? Not to like coming back, but I'm just imagining if it was like 8-0, 2 outs, and a guy bunts it, I'd be like, oh, that guy's a dick.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I could keep on going, so cut me off. Greg, transition. Spiraling.
The grand slam thing is like it's not even as drastic as what everyone's making it, because like
No, yeah, I don't think it should be that big of a conversation.
It's Texas it's the Rangers are the ones that blew it out of proportion, and then it's specifically Eric Hosmer and Jace Tingler on the Padres. Like it's Eric Haas, you're a vet. Like, you don't got to talk to him about it in public. You don't got to say anything about it in private. If anything, you gas him up. You say, kid, you're going to do great things. Keep doing what you're doing. You don't say, you know what, you don't go for a home run there, because he makes it seem like it's an automatic home run, like he's playing a video game. Like, he went up there and just swung at a ball that came right down the middle. If you don't like it, don't throw 3-0 fastballs.
Down the middle of the plate.
Exactly.
In the
Not
heart.
just soft pansies.
In the heart of the order.
By the way, Chip, you do that to me, I'm taking you yard in the home run derby, which I should have won last year. We got off that topic during the whole pandemic, but we are back. HOTO is back, and I'm coming for you, Malik. And that's happening soon. I don't know when, but it's happening.
You didn't even participate in the home run derby.
Yeah, because I was late, because I had to get a new car. I was doing big baller stuff.
With the home run derby check you bought the car with.
Exactly.
So last topic of the night we got, the trade deadline's coming up. A couple moves have already been made by a couple different teams. The Pirates traded was it the Phillies? Yeah. Phillies for Austin Davis and a cash and player to be named. Who that player will be named, who no one knows. And then the Phillies Phillies have made 2 trades. I didn't realize this until just now. But the Red Sox traded Heath Hembree and Brandon Workman, who was on the World. When was that? He was on the World Series in
2018.
No.
Were you saying Red Sox guy? Or who are you talking about?
Was it 14?
Oh, 13?
Workman? Were you talking about Brandon Workman being on the World Series team?
Yeah, what are you saying?
He was on the World Series team in 13, wasn't he?
Who
13.
was?
Swear to God. Brandon Workman. Oh, well. For exchange for right-handers Nick Pivetta and Connor Siebold. So that's just a couple early trades that we've had here before the trade deadline. Anything else we should be on the lookout for, guys?
I'll say this. It's extremely difficult to gauge how this deadline is supposed to be. We have some sellers. It should be a buyer's market, but like the thing is like, how do you determine what is an adequate package for said player to be traded? Like, example, and I'm going to use the Pirates because I think it's the example I can relate to the most. So there's 2 guys right now who should be traded in because they're in full sale mode. One of them is Trevor Williams, who's a pitcher that is, he's pitching. He's had a nice bounce back season. He has a couple years of team control. But the problem is like, who calls the Pirates for Trevor Williams? And what do you think the package should be? And I say that because you have not had any sort of chance to evaluate any type of talent during this whole entire pandemic. Yeah. And that's the problem that guys are going to have. It's determining what is adequate value for said player. Because we've seen Trevor Williams pitch. We know that he looks a lot better right now than what he did this time last year. What we don't know is what is he worth.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue. That's an issue that I think a lot of GMs are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it puts
if I'm a GM, I'm selling like as high as possible. Like if a team has a problem with like the sample size that they have seen this year, I'm trying to sell everything as high as possible. And if a move doesn't happen, That would be my approach, I think.
Yeah, I think there's like a cap at how the big names that are going to be moved. So, like, I think obviously, like, the top of the line prospects are going to stay relatively pat. Like, that would just be silly to give that way. And I feel like to what you mentioned, Dre, where, like, yeah, you don't have most up-to-date information on, like, farm systems and prospect lists and what you're going to get in return. And I feel like it's just going to be these instances where because I don't know if it was The Athletic or something Pittsburgh related wrote about Trevor Williams and Trad Cool and, like, the connection Cherington and Saunders has with the Blue Jays. So, like, with connections that are there within the industry, that's sort of where maybe potential deals may happen. Like, the one connection there that, I mean, it just, like, it's different sports, and I think COVID wasn't as rampant during, like, NFL draft pro days and et cetera. But, like, Mike Tomlin going with, like, 2 guys from Maryland because Matt Canada came from there, and Mike Tomlin's son plays there. So, like, it's sort of like using maybe, I mean, it's not really guerrilla because it's not necessarily, like, the best method, but, like, to sort of try to make the best backdoor intel you can get, because you're not getting a full picture of what you would get or give.
Yeah, and you have to be creative. You have to get creative. And the thing with Ben Cherington isn't that he doesn't know that organization top to bottom because he came from there last year. The problem that he has with them, and this is a problem that maybe 5, 6, 7 other teams are going to have, is that do they buy or do they sell or do they stand pat?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the other thing that I think a lot of teams are dealing with right now on the other side of the spectrum, because we've seen this Workman trade and the Pirates made a small deal, which low risk, high reward, whatever. Like, it's minimal. It's minimal to them. Who knows what this guy's going to be, if he's even going to be with this team at this time next year. Problem is, does a team like the Blue Jays at 14-14, do they buy? Do they go for the playoffs, or do they sell? I know last time we were talking, well, I was talking about the Orioles and the Marlins. Do they buy? Like, I don't know. Like, at this point, they're probably going to sell.
Yeah.
But maybe not the Marlins at 14-11, but the Baltimore Orioles are now 14-15. Like,
one game out.
They are. It's tough. It's just tough to gauge. So I'm curious. I think there's going to be some definite buyers, but I don't see I don't see them buying big. Like a guy like a team like the Yankees, I feel like could really benefit from a guy like Trevor Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they give up a guy like Clint
Shave
Frazier.
that beard. Cut that hair.
He's going to have to reunite with Garrett Cole. So, of course, with Garrett Cole, they'll probably turn him into an ace. So, it's just teams like that. I'm very curious. What's the Dodgers do? Like, what do they actually need? Like, I don't think it's a team that really needs anything. I feel like they will make a move if someone else makes a move.
Yeah.
Could have got Keone Keller. I don't know where he's there.
He's hurt.
Yeah.
So,
Try to reliever to the Dodgers for a second straight year.
A team I honestly believe, I will say this, and then I'll let you guys have the floor. If there's one team I believe that should 100% buy no matter what, it's the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They got an embarrassment of riches down there. They're not going to give up their top guys, but they could get a couple pieces and they can legitimately just go for the second and shortened season and then set themselves up for also down the road. That is a team I legitimately would consider just buying no matter what. And I would call every single seller out there and see what they're willing to part ways with. In fact, if I was BC, I'd call them right now about their catcher, Luis Campesino, down in the farm, who's 21 years old, and I'd be willing to part ways with a guy like Trevor Williams for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't think he's worth that, but you never know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a ton of movement in, like, the mid-tier, like in our case with the Pirates, the Trevor Williamses, and with, like, the pitchers just needing, like, whether reclamation projects or just teams that are done moving those pieces. So, like, Matt Boyd, Taijuan Walker, Johnny Cueto, even though the Giants are sort of in it right now. Just sort of guys like at that level in teams that are done, I think they'll be the big piece, like the biggest piece that will sort of be moved.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces, Kyle Seager is a guy that comes to my mind. Whit Merrifield's another one. I know he just signed that contract, but who knows with the Royals, Who knows where they're at as an organization. So a lot of they're transitioning from basically I want to say they're like year 3, year 4 their window, because a lot of their guys that they've been drafting near on top of the draft, guys like Brady Singer, are coming up and pitching for them. So
yeah.
Should be an interesting.
I thought of one more thing.
Yeah.
The total ridiculousness of the Indians letting Clevenger back to boost his trade value, but then not letting Plesac back to manipulate his service time. That's such bullcrap. Just because Plesac's on my fantasy team. That's unfortunate. Like the GM telling him, we don't have we don't have a spot for you right now.
I mean, are you surprised at all that a team would manipulate service time?
I've never seen that.
That doesn't happen at all.
What are you
keep Ryan Hayes. But I think that's just it's so annoying. It's just stupid. Yeah, it's such a double standard. And the guy, and I get it. But Clevenger did worse in my opinion. I don't know. I just think it was stupid.
Yeah, more Cleveland Indians drama, that's for sure.
But he definitely could come back just because I think the guy that started in his place, random guy from the Cleveland farm system, has a golden arm, pitched really well in his opening debut. But if things sort of start to go south, I'm sure they'll bring Plesac back. But just my time to vent.
Interesting.
I am curious to see if those two guys ended up traded.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Oliver Perez is going to opt out.
They'll keep Plesac, trade Clevenger. That's why he's starting tonight. Don't tell me different.
That makes a lot of sense, though, because Clev is 2 years he's 2 years away from free agency.
Yeah.
Plesac's only in year 1 of his service time, so he doesn't even have a full season under his belt. I wouldn't trade a guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would trade a guy like Mike Clevenger just because he easily would be the biggest pitching piece out there. So whoever wants to buy him. And honestly, if I was a team like the Padres, that's the guy I would go after.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, that'd be
huge for them because they're just so young, but they don't have that legitimate ace. Like Dilson Lamont's really balling this year, but they get Clev. Clev would look good in the Podunis too. So.
All right, guys. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Heart of the Order. Next time we meet, we'll probably see a lot of trade deadline trades, go over the standings, see where everyone's at. But thanks for joining us for another episode.
Be more like Cole Calhoun. Headbutt the ball.
Good. That was rich.